everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I'm going to call the meeting to order, and we're going to do a board member roll call.
Amber, you're on mute.
Eva Bermudez-Zimmerman.
Here.
Isha Canada.
Present.
Adrian Cochran will not be joining us today. Daryl Jasinski.
Present.
Josh Jabal.
Josh is not joining us today.
Sal Luciano. I don't believe Sal is with us today either. Alex Marcelino. I don't believe Alex is with us either. Okay. Fran Pastori.
Here.
Paul Potamianos.
Here.
John Scott. John, are you with us today? Okay. Mike Soltis.
I see John, but he
John's
appears
here.
to be muted.
John's
Okay.
here, he's muted.
Thank
I'm sorry,
you.
I'm here. I didn't realize I was muted.
Ben
Mike is
James.
here.
Present.
Molly Weston Williamson.
Present.
Henry Zaccardi.
Henry won't be attending today.
Thank you. Justin Zartman.
Present.
Thank you. Fran, we have a quorum.
Excellent, thank you, everyone. I'd like to acknowledge the members of the public who are taking the time to join us today. And I'm looking at the list of participants, but I don't see any legislators. Amber, is that correct? Am I right?
Correct.
Okay, great. So we have a quorum, and we will move on to approve the minutes of the last meeting. I'd like to call for any corrections or any adjustments to those minutes. Okay, may I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Thanks,
Second.
John. Thanks, Daryl. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any against? Okay, the motion carries. Thank you, everyone. We're going to move to Dave, and we're going to ask for an update on the accounting manual and any related documents. I believe they were all shared with us in a previous email.
Yes, thank you, Fran. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us this morning. I'm going to share my screen and everyone should see a summary of the accounting manual. So as mentioned, the accounting manual was provided to everybody, and we'll go over briefly what updates were made to it. First and foremost, a nomenclature change was made to the finance and accounting manual to better reflect what was in it. We also fine-tuned some positions and roles in the manual because we have some additional positions in the authority now that we didn't have when the manual was last updated about a year ago. Originally, it was going to be the controller and a bookkeeper, and now we have the controller, an assistant controller, contribution accountant, and the bookkeeper role is now a financial analyst role. We also, since we have additional roles, we did take advantage of that and apply segregation of duties as a control where needed, particularly when processing journal entries. We updated the narrative and voice of the document as well, shifting from specific names and software to more generic ones in case they change. So we didn't have to go back and update the document. If we did make a change, it would still stand on its own with generic descriptions. And an important change we made was the voice of the document was really originally more geared towards processes that were in an office, and the authority is a virtual authority. We work remotely. So we updated those processes to better reflect a virtual the virtual reality we're in now, quite frankly, and had those processes updated so they didn't so reflect that we were in office and handing pieces of paper, for example. It was or storing things in a file cabinet. It was all an electronic workflow. So we updated it for that. We also clarified and updated certain sections to better reflect other documentation. For example, we updated the budgeting section so that it agreed to the plan of operations change we had made in terms of budget timing that we did a few months ago. We also updated it so the investment duties were rested with the state treasurer, and that was clear, as they should be. We also added an appendix at the end for the contribution process. We didn't have that originally. Now that we have contributions and we have a process in place, we documented it and put it in the manual. And we also wanted to be consistent with our record retention policy with the state. So we updated it, the wording, so that we would be consistent with the record retention policies as exist by the state. So those were the significant changes that were made to the manual. I would ask if anybody have any, if anybody has any questions on that. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Dave.
Thank
So
you.
Go ahead.
I'm done
Okay,
just saying
sorry.
thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, so I would like to ask the board to make a motion to approve the updated manual and the related documents, which will be posted on the state's procurement website. So do I have
This is
a,
Paul. This is Paul. I'll make that motion.
And I'll
Thank you,
second
Paul.
it, yeah.
Thank you, John. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Erin, can we accept that motion if it's on the procurement site as opposed to the posting in the law journal?
Sorry, no, it does need to be posted in the Law Journal.
Exactly.
We can
So-
amend the motion.
Right.
Well, then
that's
I'll
what I'm
withdraw
saying.
the motion and
Yeah.
reframe the motion to approve posting the revised accounting manual on in the Connecticut Law Journal.
And I'll second that again.
Thank you, Paul and John. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you so much. We'll move on to item 5, the registration and contribution portal. Andrea Comer.
Thank you. Good morning. I will share my screen. Everyone see this okay?
Yes.
There we go. Thank you. Through you, I'll present our program metrics and updates on our efforts in the area of outreach and engagement. As of July 7th, we have 113,082 registrants with paid leave and have about 107.8 million in contributions received or in transit. In terms of private plans, we have 340 approved, 301 fully insured, and 39 self-insured. Of the 340 approved plans, 8 are new plans for employers that had previously received approval for a plan with a different carrier. The 400 number private plan applications that have been filed reflects actual separate applications, excluding duplicates. And broken down by quarter, there were 305 in the first quarter, 95 in the second quarter, and none to date in the third quarter. We currently have 181 open Contact Us inquiries and have closed 19,375 Contact Us inquiries since September of 2020. And finally, we have 379 third-party administrators and 1,110 tax accountants registered. In terms of our employer contribution portal and benefits claim administration activities, we're continuing the resolution and backlog processing of batch payments, developing compliance reports in Department of Labor and Department of Revenue feeds, and making process improvement enhancements. Finally, our claims process and IT work streams are ongoing. Before I move on to our outreach and engagement efforts, I just want to pause and see if there are any questions around this section, or if there is any additional context Andrea or Erin want to provide.
This is Molly. I did just have a question if you happen to know off the top of your head. So the 340 approved private plans, do you happen to have a sense off the top of your head of how many workers or what proportion of the workforce that represents?
I'm going to defer to Erin, if I may, on that one. Erin, if you know.
Hi, Molly, it's Erin. I did not do a breakdown of the number of employees in that group of private plans for this quarter. So it's an additional 40 compared to the 40 odd compared to the first quarter. And I can't remember now what I said at the end of the first quarter. I think it was about 26,000, if anyone remembers. So it is still true that the vast majority of the private plans are for small employers. We only have a handful of really large employers with private plans.
Great, thank you.
I can get that data for you.
Any additional?
Not to digress, but is that something that we anticipated, that more of the private plans would be with smaller employees? I'm surprised, that's all.
It was hard to anticipate what we were going to see because our private plan model is different than some of the other states that allow for private plans. For example, in Massachusetts, they allow for a bifurcated model, so you could have a private plan for the medical only and use the public option for family leave, and vice versa. So we really weren't sure what to expect. In terms of the actuary reports, they were assuming about 5 to 6% of employers in the state, and we're still under that number. So we're kind of just watching to see what happens as opposed to having expectations. I can tell you some of the private plan people said they wanted to pay for the benefit themselves or have their employees contribute less. Some of the private plan people that we've talked to have said they frankly knew that they could provide the benefits quickly to their employees and they didn't know anything about us. And some of them, I think had already had existing relationships for short-term disability, and just those were leveraged into the new benefits. So we're just watching to see what happens and how that changes over time.
Thank you, Erin.
Excuse me for a moment. I'd like to note that Representative Aurora has joined us. Thank you for joining us, Representative.
Thank you, Amber.
Glad to be
Thank
here.
you.
Okay, I will move on. As we shared last month, based on feedback from users, we've decreased our email communications as reflected in the chart on the left. It's worth noting that while we sent fewer emails, our open rate for the month of June was significantly higher than in the previous 2 months. And so we see that as an indication that the shift was in fact the right move. As far as our website performance, our top campaigns were providing clarity on the distinction between paid family and medical leave and Connecticut paid leave, and the HR newsletter that is sent to our human resources and benefits managers. We had nearly 15,000 new users to the site and about 8,600 returning users. And our most frequently visited landing pages were for employees, registration, and contact us. The visits to the employee landing page let us know that workers are becoming more interested in learning about the program. So we are in the process of developing toolkits, frequently asked questions, and other collateral for inclusion on that page. Our social media metrics have shifted slightly, as you can see, with significant drops in both Facebook and Instagram. We believe this is due to the reopening of the state, which has allowed people to get away from their computers and venture outside, along with many people returning to in-office work. That said, we've also seen, as you can see, a tremendous jump in our LinkedIn engagement, which indicates stronger engagement on the business side. We also wanted to share some results from our Contact Us customer satisfaction survey, which was presented to the Outreach and Engagement Committee at the June meeting. We were pleased to learn that 77% of our respondents reported that their needs were met, 69% of respondents were satisfied with their experience, 67% were satisfied with the knowledge of the contact center team, and 65% would recommend the contact center for assistance. So these results are really a testament to the incredibly hard work of the United Way 211 contact center team and their commitment to user experience. And so we're really fortunate to have them as partners in this work. Finally, we mentioned previously that we sent a postcard to a list of businesses that had not yet registered for paid leave or remitted contributions. As a result of that mailing, we heard from several employers of workers who provide services in their homes that they were unaware that paid leave was applicable to them. So to ensure awareness in that regard, we communicated through email, social media, and a newsletter that these workers are in fact eligible for paid leave. And we've also seen a bump in registration numbers since that postcard was mailed. So that concludes my presentation. I am happy to answer any additional questions or welcome additional context from Andrea or others.
Andrea, thank you so much for that presentation. I love looking at the metrics of the social media, and interesting that people were getting too many emails. That happens, I guess.
Yes.
But great feedback and really wonderful learnings that you can determine from that on how to move forward.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any questions, any comments, any feedback? All right, great job. Thank you so much. We're going to move to the committee reports, and we're going to go to Ava and Andrea C. again.
We didn't have much happening, but I'll give it to Andrea.
Yeah, that was the sum of the presentation. I think
Okay.
I bundled them together.
Right. All right, fine. Sorry. All right. So Paul and David for the Finance Committee reviewing.
Good morning, everybody.
Thank you.
All right. So we took a look at the budget, and you all want to hear from David because he's going to run through our financials. So I will turn it over to David because you don't want to hear me talk. David, it's all yours.
Thank you, Paul. All right. Good morning again, everybody. Let me get the financials up on the screen. Okay. So we will go over the month of May, inception through May. We'll give you a preview of June, talk about where we'll be at the end of the year. So for the month of May, we expended $762,000. We also did record the administrative fee as budgeted, since we did get contributions come in. That administrative fee was for the quarter. We, in fact, did not use much of it at all, and most of it stayed in operating reserves. What we did expend in the month of May, like I mentioned, was $762,000, and that was spent on the employee contribution system, getting it to the final stage, and that was $274,000. Salaries, benefits, and taxes were $251,000. We had our annual MuleSoft license and some other smaller ones. That was $115,000. And the MuleSoft license is used for the employee contribution platform to make sure it's up and running. Our outreach efforts, we spent $45,000 on that. And the results of that is what Andrea just reported a few minutes ago. Our support team over at Kforce, we spent $26,000 on that. And that makes up the bulk of the $762,000 we spent for the month of May. Looking at where we are cumulatively through the month of May, we continue to be under budget by $14 million, and that's primarily driven by the less than anticipated use of the bond funds that we originally budgeted in the beginning of the year. To date, we've spent just under $10 million, and 6.8 of that has been spent on the employee contribution system, $1.8 million on salary, benefits, and taxes, $959,000 on our support teams, and $353,000 on our outreach efforts. So those four categories alone make up 93% of the spending. That's been consistent with what we've reported in the past, so the trends remain consistent. As most of the money is spent from the bond funds, we'll take a minute and update everybody on that. We do have $12.2 million of bond funds allocated. Like I mentioned, we have spent $6.8 million on it to date. That has been on the employee contribution system. In the month of June, we did have some additional expenditures for the employee contribution system and also on the chatbot initiative. So all in all, through the month of June, we have spent $7.8 million of bond funds, and we do have $4.4 million of the 12.2 allocated that is available for spending. Let's talk about the money coming in for a few minutes. Happy to report that contribution activity through the month of May was $105 million. There really wasn't a lot of activity in May, as most employers and TPAs wait until July or June to pay. They wait till the end of the quarter or the month following the end of the quarter when the contributions are due. As of the end of June, that number did go up a bit by $1.3 million to $106.5 million. And as Andrea reported, in the month of July, we are up to almost $107.8 million as people start sending in their contributions that are due for the second quarter. As far as expenditures for June, we did spend $2.4 million in total. The significant expenditures on that was $991,000 of the bond funds for the employee contribution system and chatbot, as I mentioned. We also paid almost $753,000 to Slalom, our vendor, for ongoing support of the contribution collection system. Salaries and benefits were $273,000. Our support was $244,000. That includes 2 months of support to our United Way 2-on-1 group. We paid almost $22,000 to our actuaries as they continue to update a study for us, so we can validate and verify the solvency of the fund. And also our outreach efforts were $22,000. So those were the significant expenditures for the month of June. So as of the end of the fiscal year, which was actually last week, if you can believe it already, we project that we will be ahead of budget. Again, that is driven by the less than expected use in bond funds. The projection was updated from the last time because not all of the bond funds that were allocated, the $12.2 million, will be used in this fiscal year. We do anticipate using them in the next fiscal year coming up. So it's a timing difference, but we did reduce the amount of the bond funds because they just weren't going to be used by the end of June. But we are ahead of budget in that regard. Those are my prepared remarks for our financial update. Does anybody have any questions?
Nice, thorough job. Thank you so much, Dave.
Thank you again, Fran. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Any questions for Dave, anybody, or Paul?
No, thank you, David.
Okay, excellent. We can move on to the Policy and Personnel Committee. I didn't see Henry.
No, Henry couldn't attend this morning, and the committee did not meet this month. So, but
Okay.
Daryl is the chair. Daryl, did you have anything else that you wanted to add in particular?
No, Andrea, thank you.
Okay.
All right, great. So then we can move on to Andrea, who will be happy to answer any questions regarding the authority's work. Does anybody have anything that they would like to share with Andrea?
Because as usual, my team leaves me really with nothing to report at the end of the meeting.
So thorough.
They're very thorough, so I don't have much to say. But I will just extend a welcome back to Molly. We have missed you and your energy, so we're really pleased that thank you for taking the time to come back to this meeting. We weren't expecting you until next month, so I'm really glad that you were able to join us today, so I appreciate that. I know that from time to time, there have been questions about our insurance. So we are fully insured. I want everyone to know that, including directors and officers, cyber insurance, general liability. So all of that has been secured and we are fine. The next contributions, as Dave had noted, are due at the end of this month. And if the pattern holds from other states and what we experienced in the last quarter, virtually everything will start to come in on or before right before July 31st. And that's really all I had to offer that had not already been discussed.
Okay, thank you, Andrea.
Okay.
All right. Do we have any old business that anybody would like to bring up? Any new business? I think this is the first time we've had a meeting that's been so brief. So everybody gets time back in their day. May I have a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
John, thank you. A second?
Second.
Daryl?
Thank you, Daryl. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you, Mr. Aurora, for joining us today. Appreciate your attendance, and thank you to members of the public who participated today. And thanks to the fabulous paid leave team. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of the week, everybody. Enjoy the weather.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.